Hi, and welcome to the Digital Guitarist. First thing I want to do is have a look at a couple of new free plugins, the ChowDSP Centaur and the Nembrini Minotaur. Now, these are clones of the Klon Centaur. Basically, what this does, it's supposed to bring out the best distortion qualities of your amplifier rather than distorting the signal and sending it to the amplifier to be distorted again. So these were packed in epoxy, so if you tried to reverse engineer them, destroy the pedal. If you've got a good tube amp that overdrives really well, something like the Centaur might be something that you need. But in a sense, it makes sense for hardware amplifiers, but I'm not really sure it does for software amplifiers. The reason is that in software you can control the input of your guitar. So there's something to be said of getting the input right at the sound card, and something to be said for having good preamplifier files. But unlike a guitar getting plugged into an amp, you're not limited to whatever the guitar signal puts out as to what you feed the amp with.
This is a sort of classic Klon setup. The Chow has two settings, a neural and a traditional. We're going to go with the neural, and then the Nembrini will set it up the same. Basically what we've got is a sweep going through the range of a guitar amplifier from 80 to 5K. What I've done is set up a sine sweep, which you can see here on the top right corner. And it's, you can see there's no harmonics. Just a simple sine wave going up and down. The speaker version is here, and you can see even with the bypass, the amp and the speakers add a considerable amount of overtones. We'll look first at the ChowDSP, a pretty complex set of overtones. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th, 8th order harmonics. Here they are in compare. So the Chow on the bottom and the Nembrini on the top. Actually, they're looking pretty similar to me. Okay, so let's hold both of those signals, and first let's look at the Chow. We're getting an A3 here, so the second harmonic is an octave up, so that's our A4. The third harmonic should be a fifth, an octave and a fifth, so E is the fifth of A, so there's our third harmonic. And this is the fourth, another octave on A, and this should be a fifth up from E, so it should be around a B. I would think, maybe I've got my understanding wrong, and this should be another octave, but we're not, after that, it's adding overtones that aren't really in the harmonic series as far as I can tell. But we do get the third octave on the Nembrini. So the overtones are different between the two emulations, and that makes sense. The two emulations sound different.
If you're interested in the details and the geekery, there's a few links in the description that will take you to all the information you wanted to know, all the technical information, graphs galore. So the upshot of all this is that the Klon clones are adding to the signal. They're adding even and odd overtones, and then some unrelated overtones later on. So let's hear what that sounds like. Now we're going to return to using our ears. So really what we're hoping for is whatever that mojo is that's in the epoxy. I want to show you one thing first. It's maybe a bit of a peeve, but all this wasted space on the Klon, there's no reason for all that. We can just do with the orange part. And the Centaur basically does the same things in less space without the skeuomorphic copying of the physical pedal. And actually, it's easier and quicker to bypass because the button is bigger. Okay, so I'm going to use some rather extreme settings today on the Brainworks Ampeg V4B bass amp. These, you get some really interesting tones on them, and they do really interesting things with the Klon Klones in front of them. So the first one, we'll go with the Centaur. So only 3 settings, gain, tone, and level. And what you do is you push up the gain and, you know, adjust the level accordingly to balance your signal out so you're not going like sending a clipped signal. And then you use the tone because it can be a little harsh. You pull back the tone a little bit on it, and that gives you the famous Centaur sound. Chow has done a very interesting thing though. There's a traditional circuit modeling version, and there's also this slightly more CPU intensive neural net version, which basically what they did was took a real Klon, if I'm not mistaken, they took a real Klon, recorded it in every possible position, with every possible kind of amp and music setting, and then ran that through a feed-forward neural network and trained it to sound like a body of Klon-made music. So that's what I think is going on here, and it actually, I don't know if it's accurate because I don't have $6,000 to drop on one of these pedals, but it sounds very, like it sounds head and shoulders, it's the best sound of these between the 2 settings on the Chow and the one on the Nembrini. But now let's listen to the Nembrini version and watch what it does on this extreme distortion. Completely conks out, which is odd. So let's actually have a look at the amps and see what's going on here. That's this extreme setting. Let's try something a little bit normaler. So let's give that a chance on some clean stuff. Let's drive it a little. And there's without. So taking that nice clean sound and overdriving the amplifier. Let's give the Centaur a run at it. We'll use the neural net first. Let's pump the gain and a little bit of output. So you can hear the pick coming through there quite a bit better than on the Nembrini. And now let's try the circuit modeled version of it. So I would describe the Chow as being more articulated. So just the notes come out clearer, whereas the Nembrini actually kind of digs in on the distortion and gets a little chunky, seems to overwhelm the transients. And I think that's what's happening on the extreme setting, is there's probably a slightly different envelope on the Centaur. That's the Nembrini. And then here's the Neural. So you can hear the pick coming through there quite a bit better than on the Nembrini. They both sound good. The Nembrini would be really good for sort of chugging rhythms, but if you want really articulate playing on a lead, and you value the sound of the pick hitting the string, the Chow seems to let it through a little bit more. Okay, so that's it. 2 free plugins and a very not free Brainworks plugin. That's it. I'm the Digital Guitarist. My name's Rich Rath. You can subscribe to the channel below, and thanks for listening.